Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to get into something every computer does math. We're going to see exactly how the Python programming language handles numbers and all the calculations you can do with them. Okay, let's dive right in. It can feel a little bit like magic sometimes, but really, every single complex calculation your computer does is built on a few simple, clear rules. So in this explainer, we're going to pull back the curtain and show you how Python can become your own super-powered calculator. So, before we can get Python to do any math for us, we need to understand what it even thinks a number is. And it turns out there are really just two main types you've got to get your head around. First up, we have integers, or int for short. Think of these as your classic everyday whole numbers. No pesky fractions or decimals involved. Then you've got floating point numbers, or floats. These are any numbers that do have a decimal point. Honestly, that little dot is the only thing that matters. If you see it, it's a float. No dot, it's an integer. See? Super simple. Okay, so we know what the numbers are. Now for the fun part. Let's actually do some math with them. We're going to check out the basic toolkit Python gives us for all the standard arithmetic. Let's start with the absolute classic, addition. In Python, it's just the plus sign, exactly like you'd see on paper. Here, we're just asking the computer to print out the result of 8 plus 2. And there you have it, we get 10. Easy, right? This is pretty much the foundation for everything else we're about to do. All right, next up is subtraction. And again, no big surprises here. We just use the minus sign, or the hyphen key, to find the difference between two numbers. And just like that, we get 6. So you're probably seeing the pattern, right? You give Python an expression, and it just spits back the answer. Okay, now for multiplication. And this is where things get just a little different from what you learned in school. See, in programming, we don't use the X symbol. That can get confusing. Instead, we use the asterisk. So 8 times 2 is written just like this. And Python gives us 16. Simple as that. And finally, we've got division, which uses the good old forward slash. But you're going to want to pay close attention to this one. Division has a really interesting little quirk in Python. Whoa, hang on. Look at that result. It's 4.0, not just 4. Why the decimal? Because, and this is super, super important to remember, the standard division operator in Python always gives you back a float. Even if the result is a perfect whole number, it's going to add that 0.0 on the end. But what if you don't want that decimal? What if you need to know, how many times a number fits completely inside another? Or maybe you just want the remainder? Well, Python's got a few secret moves up its sleeve for exactly that.
Okay, so this table lays it all out perfectly. We already know the single forward slash. Now look at the double slash, slash slash. That's for integer division. It does the math, but then it completely chops off anything after the decimal. So 7 slash slash 3 just gives you 2. Then there's the percent sign, percent. This is called the modulo operator. This one's a little weird at first, but it's incredibly useful. It doesn't give you the result of the division, it gives you the remainder. So 7% 3 is 1, because 3 goes into 7 2 times with 1 left over.
So what happens when we start mixing all these things together in one big calculation? Does the computer just work from left to right? Nope. It follows the same rules of the road you probably remember from math class. We're talking about the order of operations. And here they are. It's probably a good refresher. Parentheses are king. Python always does them first. After that, it looks for any multiplication or division. And only at the very end, after everything else is done, does it handle the addition and subtraction. Let's see how this plays out. So let's look at this. You might think it goes left to right, but nope. Python sees that multiplication sign and says, aha, I have to do 5 times 3 first. That gives it 15. Then it goes back and adds the 10, and that's how we get 25. But look what happens when we throw in some parentheses. By wrapping 10 plus 5 in parentheses, we're basically yelling at Python, hey, do this part first. So it does. 10 plus 5 is 15. Then it multiplies that result by 3, and we get a totally different answer, 45. See the power you have? Parentheses let you control the flow of the math. Now, doing one-off calculations is great, but things get really powerful when we can save our results to use them again later. And for that, we use one of the most important concepts in all of programming, something called a variable.
And honestly, this is the absolute best way to think about it. A variable isn't the number itself. It's more like a labeled box, a container that you can put a number inside. You give the box a name,
and then you're free to change what's inside it whenever you want.
So this is what that looks like in the code. We're creating a box called score, and that single equal sign isn't asking a question, it's an instruction. It means put the value 10 into the box named score. From now on, anytime we mention score, Python knows we mean the number 10.
And this is where things get really cool. This line looks a little weird at first, right? But here's how Python reads it. It starts on the right side of the equal sign and says, okay, first I need to take the current value of score, which is 10, and add 5 to it. That gives us 15. Then it takes that new result and puts it back into the score box, replacing the old value. And just like that, the new value in our score box is 15. This idea of updating a variable based on its own value, you are going to use this constantly. It's absolutely fundamental to programming. Okay, before we finish up, I want to give you a heads up on a couple of common mistakes that trip up almost everyone when they're starting out. Knowing these now is going to save you a ton of frustration, trust me. First big one, quotes. The second you put quotes around a number, it stops being a number to Python. It becomes text. So 10 plus 5 isn't math anymore. It's just like sticking two words together. You get 105, not 15. Big difference. And the second one is a law of the universe, not just Python. You cannot ever divide by 0. If you try, your program will just stop. It'll throw an error and you'll have to fix it. And that's really the core of it. You now get how Python thinks about numbers, how it does all the basic math, and most importantly, how to store and update those numbers using variables. These are the absolute building blocks. So now that you have them, I've just got one question for you. What's the first thing you're going to calculate?